Trump had a swearing in today for Alina Habba in the Oval Office as a U.S. attorney. Pam Bondi swore her in, but then he took questions from the press, and they asked one, and it's not the answer the liberals like to hear. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, which, of course, is brought to you by Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting and Roofing. If you're in the state of Florida and you need roof replacement or repair, Tom Laporta is your guy. He's a good bag of man. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need. Online at LaportaRoofing.com. All right, so let's get into this. And then JD dropped something pretty big today, too, that is kind of funny, which we'll share as well. But anyway, this is the president in this press conference that the Alina Habba swearing in today. Listen.
What is a woman, and why is it important that we understand the difference between men and women?
Okay, now, you hear the laughter. I wonder, is that the press laughing? What is a woman? Where are we in society where something's so ridiculous? What are we, 7? What's a boy? What's a girl? Everybody knows what a woman is. Everyone knows what a guy is. But we've gone so far with these wokesters that the very basics of being human are being questioned.
What is a woman, and why is it important that we understand the difference between men and women?
Well, it's sort of easy to answer for me, because a woman is somebody that can have a baby under certain circumstances. She has a quality. A woman is a person who's much smarter than a man, I've always found. A woman is a person that doesn't give a man even a chance of success. And a woman's a person that in many cases has been treated very badly, because I think that what happens with this crazy issue of men being able to play in women's sports is just ridiculous and very unfair to women and very demeaning to women. And that's got to be about a 94%. I read today it was a 94% issue. And the other day, I watched a congressman, a well-known Democrat congressman, fighting for the fact that men should be allowed to compete essentially in women's sports. And I say, I hope they keep that going, because they'll never win another election. That's a big deal. But women are basically incredible people, do so much for our country, and we love our women, and we're going to take care of our women.
Okay. Now, I'm glad people are in there laughing, all right? And I'm assuming a lot of that's the press, some of it's staff, who knows? But, could have been Habba, right? That did sound a little bit like Alina Habba. Why do you think the Democrats still are fighting for this men and women's sports issue? It's obviously a losing issue. And as absurd as the whole idea is, it is one of the major issues that led to President Trump's victory. And I think it's a 1% issue. I mean, who would be in favor of that? You see these Democrats that are out there advocating for it after they lost, by the way, and it really truly makes no sense that they would support it. I understand. Not that I agree with it. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but I do understand why the Democrats were supporting it. And what happens with Democrats, this happened with one of the Democrat Party state leaders here in Florida a few years ago. The Democrats, the way they operate is they view everyone as a special interest group that they can go after for their votes. And a few years ago, there was a lot of outreach done here in Florida by the Democrats to Muslims. And I remember there was a flyer that leaked out of the Democrat Party, and the flyer, it said that this is a great new demographic for us, is what the flyer was talking about with Muslims. And they stopped doing it really quick because they lost some elections, because people had 9/11 on their mind. It wasn't too long after 9/11 when they were doing that. So the Democrats may have started looking at that issue as a new group, but how large is that group of people? And aren't they Democrats already? It really kind of, that whole trans thing became a super big story, not with Leah Thomas, but with Ron DeSantis. If you remember, no, not because Ron DeSantis wears the high heel shoes, okay, that are hidden in his boots, not that. But remember there was that Disney executive meeting from Disney Entertainment in California, and it was one of the executives in charge of, was it the animation division? And they were they were talking about how they were hiding these things in their movies and such. And the executive at Disney had 2 kids, which were 2 strange sexualities and genders. And that started that discussion with DeSantis. And actually, it was libs of TikTok who brought that to the attention of the world, if I remember correctly. And libs of TikTok, and I think a lot of people know this, and she's invited to CPAC and Turning Point and stuff, the Libs of TikTok girl. So she does get a lot of recognition for it. But Libs of TikTok had a lot to do with that issue becoming like a big mainstream issue that was discussed everywhere. I mean, being exposed. But that seems to me to be such a losing issue that Democrats are just out of their minds to even support it. Now, this press conference that the president had, he got into some other things too. This is the president talking about the car business in America.
And if you build a car in the United States, and one thing that I just spoke with John Thune about, I just spoke to Mike Johnson about, Speaker, we're going to do something that has never been done in this country before. I'm very proud to say it was my idea. And so sometimes a simple idea, they say, how'd you think of that when it's so simple? It was never done. If you buy a car in the United States that's made in the United States, if it's manufactured here, when you borrow money, if you borrow money, you have interest payments. We're going to let you deduct the interest payment for income tax reasons. And I think that's going to more than pay for itself. I think people are going to be they've never had a deduction. You know, deductions are supposed to be for like rich people, and it's unfair to have that. But rich people are, I think I know more about deductions than any human being on earth. But, you know, the truth is that people that are middle income people that buy a car and actually have to borrow money, they're going to now get an interest deduction on their car if it's made in the United States. If it's made someplace else, that won't take place.
Okay, now that's a very amazing thing. You know, yeah, like if you're a homeowner, you can deduct your mortgage interest, right? And now what he said was American cars made in America, right? So that could be a Toyota. It could be a Hyundai or a Kia or a Lexus or a BMW or a Jaguar. As long as it's made in the United States, you get the deduction. Now, I wonder what that means. There's some cars that are assembled in the United States. So there's like a lot of gray, meaning they bring the parts here and they assemble the car in the United States, right? They bring the parts from Japan or wherever they bring them from. So I don't, you know, there'll be a lot of nuances and details to that, but that would be an amazing thing. You know what that would do for the American auto industry? And if it's a foreign owned manufacturer, like say Toyota, right? And Toyota already has plants in the United States, by the way. They've had plants in Louisiana, and they have UAW workers in the South and everything else. And Lexus made Lexus made. So, but the Toyota, for example, if you are getting a deduction on your auto loan interest, of course you would buy a car that was made in the United States. Why wouldn't you? That sounds like a pretty good thing. That would be such a boom for the auto industry, not just the manufacturers, but the dealers and the salesmen and everything else. You know, one of the reasons people don't buy cars as often as they would like sometimes is because, you know, that car payment, the whatever rate they get on the car loan. But if they can deduct that interest, wow, you know, that's amazing. I wonder if that's on new cars. Would it be used cars at a new dealership? There's a lot of details with that would have to be worked out. But that is such a good thing. You know, I mean, why not? And, you know, so many and maybe most of the tax cuts that President Trump talks about are all for working people, like he said, middle income people. Right? No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, deducting the interest on an auto loan on a car that's made in the United States, which could be a foreign company, but it's made here in America. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. Now, J.D. Vance, who made this super cool recruitment video for the Marines. Did you see this? It was pretty wild. He went to Greenland with his wife, and I was surprised to hear the vice president say this. He goes into a room filled with soldiers, American soldiers in Greenland, and he walks in with his wife.
Hey, guys, how we doing? Please, at ease. At ease. Good Lord, sit down and eat. Sit down and eat. Don't let the vice president stop you guys from getting your chow here. How we doing? It's cold as shit here. Nobody told me.
It is cold. It is cold. I don't know if that's going to help us get Greenland or not. But it is cold. And, he's from Ohio. It gets cold in Ohio. So for him to say it's cold, and he'd been in Washington, all that, for him to say it's cold, that's cold, right? Too cold for me. I don't think I'd be heading there. Oh, man. I tell you, though, JD's doing a great job. Now, I want to thank our Patreon supporters for their support of the program, and our new Patreon supporters, welcome to you. And if you'd like to support my content, which is the podcast, my YouTube channel, everything that I do, becoming a Patreon supporter is a great way to do that. Patreon supporters have access to commercial-free editions of all the podcast episodes. And you're also supporting me and the program, and you also get access to other things, too, that my wife, Kathy, and I post only to Patreon that we don't post elsewhere. And you can also reach out to us and message us directly and things on Patreon. But you do get commercial-free editions of all the podcast episodes as well as a Patreon supporter. And if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode and of the podcast, as well as in the description of all my YouTube videos as well. Also, if you're a top Patreon supporter, you get a live on-air thank you shout-out on every episode. So the names you'll hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, Rob and Trish, Wilkerson, John S., Frank, Dale, David, Laura B., Rob L., and SF Jr. SF Jr. is our newest top Patreon supporter. Welcome, SF Jr. And again, if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of the episode, and the direct website address is patreon.com/RealBrianCraigShow. Patreon.com/RealBrianCraigShow. All right, so the Canadian Prime Minister, this Connie character, he's been pretty brutal on the U.S. the last couple of days, and President Trump talked to Mark Carney, and he also talked about that in the press briefing today.
We had a very good conversation. Mark called me today at 10 o'clock. We put out a statement. We had a very
I noticed that the Canadian Prime Minister called President Trump. President Trump didn't call him because we are the dominant, okay, of the two countries. So, the one who makes the calls on the weaker end always.
We had a very good conversation. Mark called me today at 10 o'clock. We put out a statement. We had a very good talk. He's going through an election now, and we'll see what happens. But we have Liberation Day, as you know, on April 2nd, and I'm not referring to Canada, but many countries have taken advantage of us, the likes of which nobody even thought was possible for many decades, And, that has to stop. We're going to end up with a very good relationship with Canada and a lot of the other countries. Some we probably won't. It won't be so pleasant. But I think most countries are agreeing with me. Many of them have actually apologized. They said, look, we have taken advantage. And I don't blame them as much as I blame the people that stood. In this case, I can say the men, because so far they've been all men, haven't they? But the men that sat right there and behind the Resolute desk, mostly the Resolute desk.
Yeah. So the Canadian Prime Minister really has caved, Carney. Right? And, that doesn't mean we're not going to see some more video clips of him being all butch and all that. That's going to happen. But, the reason he's coming off all butch, that's not meant for us. He's got to look butch to his people, right? Plus, they have an election coming up. So, when he's in private with President Trump, Carney's acting as the Canadian Prime Minister should towards the United States of America's president. Okay. But so I don't know if the stuff we're seeing publicly we should take as serious, right? If he's doing the right thing in the private conversations with Trump and negotiating and renegotiating and getting the trade deals and everything proper, I think I'm okay with that, aren't you? Regardless of what he says publicly. You can't listen, he's the head of their country. He's got to act like he's, a big man on campus, but everybody knows he's caved. He's caved. Just like we knew he would. Now, Bill Maher, he's having dinner with the president at the White House, and he had Chris Cuomo on his program, not the HBO show. Bill Maher had him on that show where he sits around and smokes weed and drinks with celebrities, and he talked about it.
You're going to meet with the president.
I am.
So Kid Rock makes it happen. What do you think has been the response so far? What do you think it will be, and why are you doing it? Which I'm totally for, by the way, and I love it.
Yeah, I get it. Well, I'm doing it because, first of all, it was presented as
a dare.
not a dare. No, just like, maybe this is a beginning to heal America. No, I don't have some sort of complex where I think I can heal America. I can't. Okay, let's get that clear. I'm not going to be healing America. But if two guys who've been at each other for so long, I mean, it's kind of a Nixon to China thing. I have the credential. There was nobody who was harder on Trump or more prescient about the fact that he wasn't going to leave office voluntarily than I was. I feel like I have the credentials. But they also respect me because I'm honest about the woke train to crazy town.
Okay. And he goes on. The thing about Bill Maher's right about the woke train to crazy town, but Bill Maher, what if he likes Trump? I know I don't think he dislikes Trump as much as you might think or as people think. But when he sits down and meets with him and he realized, all these things I felt about Trump are really not true. It's been this crazy stereotype, this negative stereotype I've had of him from all these different things. And he likes Trump. Then what happens? If he meets him and likes him, what'll happen with Bill Maher then? He doesn't want to alienate his liberal Hollywood friends because he does like to be in these celebrity circles, even though he takes on woke. I don't think that's as risky as you think out in Hollywood these days, because I think a lot of people are fed up with woke out in Hollywood. I think they understand the negative impact it's had on their industry. So I don't think woke is as popular as people think, even in Hollywood. But what if Bill Maher realizes this is not the man I thought he was? I like this guy. What's going to happen then? And would he be able to admit it publicly? I don't know. That'd be a pretty cool thing to see. I'm Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We'll take a quick break and be right back. If you're the parent of a middle schooler, you know the feeling. It can be overwhelming. One moment, they're your little boy or your little girl. The next, they're navigating friendships, school pressures, and big emotions. If you're feeling lost, you're not alone. But there is help in the book from author Grace Clark, Parenting Middle Schoolers Made Easy. Available online at harmonybookpublishing.com. With this must-read book, you'll find practical, actionable strategies to help your tween build confidence, emotional intelligence, and essential life skills that they'll carry with them for the rest of their life. You'll learn how to guide them through social pressures, time management, and even tough challenges like bullying, special learning needs, co-parenting, during and after divorce, as well as homeschooling. Parenting Middle Schoolers Made Easy is a must-have for every parent to raise confident children. It's also perfect for middle school teachers and guidance counselors. You don't have to navigate this journey alone. Let author Grace Clark with Parenting Middle Schoolers Made Easy help you empower your child and bring the joy back to your parenting. Get your copy now at harmonybookpublishing.com. That is spelled as HARMONYBOOK publishing.com. Again, that's HARMONYBOOK publishing.com. For Parenting Middle Schoolers Made Easy from author Grace Clark. If you're a homeowner or with a homeowners association and your roof is old or compromised, you need to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. Laporta Roofing has been in the roofing and construction business since 1984. before, with thousands of roof installations and thousands of satisfied customers. Did you know that in the state of Florida, you can open a roofing company and borrow someone else's license? Tom Laporta is the holder of his roofing and general contractor's licenses, not like the other companies that borrow other people's licenses. So be sure who you're dealing with. Tom Laporta and his team are honest, knowledgeable, and reliable, and he'll never sell you a roof you don't need. Laporta Roofing carries all insurance, including workers' compensation on all of its employees, not just a waiver like other contractors. Laporta Roofing can handle any type of roofing job too. Residential roofing, HOAs, condominiums, and churches. If it's roofing, Laporta Roofing can do it. So call Tom Laporta on his cell phone, 954-604-4602, or connect online at laportaroofing.com. That number again is 954-604-4602. Laporta Roofing, the go-to roofing company you can trust.
This is Dr. Philip Appleton. I'm a chiropractic physician. I've seen thousands and thousands of patients in my career. I've been a chiropractic physician here in Pompano Beach for 40 years. We're open 6 days a week. If you have sciatica, you have bursitis, you have tendonitis, you're tired of taking the pills, the drugs, the injections, and you heard that you have to live with it. Well, there's a lot of times you don't have to live with it. I've had great success with helping people. My testimonials are marvelous with patients. They love the treatment because no injections, there's no medication, there's no surgery, there's none of that. It's strictly either the laser or the acupuncture I do or shockwave therapy I do. Open 6 days a week. Come in for the free consultation and be willing to look at you and help you.
Take advantage of that no-charge consultation with Dr. Appleton. Remember, appointments are not necessary and walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonChiro.com. Have you ever wondered how our digital world evolved and where it's heading next? Find the answers to those questions and more in the new book from author Dr. Damola Salake, Chronicles of the New Digital Age, available on Amazon. Chronicles of the New Digital Age is a fascinating journey through the evolution of the internet. The author breaks it all down, from the early days of static websites and Web 1.0 to the social explosion of Web 2.0, and now the decentralized immersive world of Web 3.0. This must-read book is packed with insights about the innovations and disruptions that have shaped how we live, work, and connect. Chronicles of the New Digital Age makes it easy to understand how far we've come and where technology is headed. So whether you're a technology lover, a curious professional, or just someone who wants to understand how all this digital stuff fits into our lives, this is the book for you. Order your copy right now on Amazon. Chronicles of the New Digital Age from author Dr. Damola Salake on Amazon. The future is happening. Are you ready?
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Brian Craig Show podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. Okay, so Tim Walz has really taken the leadership here lately as far as like some potential something. I mean, it seems like every day lately I'm on social media, I'm on X, and there's some clip of Tim Walz somewhere like he's running for president. I don't know what about him he thinks people would like. He just lost a national election. But he said something today. A little truthful thing, little admission.
We see one of the first things they do is try and restrict the vote. This is one of the things, though, that this is going to take power to the streets. I don't know what the answer is on this, but I've been saying this. I think we need a shadow government so when all these things come up every single day, we've got an alternate press conference telling the truth about what things are happening, telling what's going out.
A shadow government? And you notice when the Democrats lose, they always make the claim that there's some reason why they lost that has nothing to do, of course, with them, right? They always play themselves off as some kind of victim. We really didn't lose. People didn't reject us. The system is set up against us because of this or that. or the other thing. It's so tiring. But I guess there people like to hear that, because you hear that all the time. But so far as this, this shadow government thing that Tim Walz is talking about, this is what they do, right? They undermine everything that we're doing behind the scenes, like with the judges, right? When he talks about a shadow government, does he mean the judges? Are these judges that are making these rulings against Trump every time he gives an order? Are they part of a shadow government? I think what they're doing really is an insurrection, is how I'd view it. And without a doubt in my mind, I view it as an insurrection. And I don't think that's a stretch. I think the way that they have the entire thing set up, the way they're operating, President Trump is obeying these judges, because he doesn't want to go against the laws or have them come after him, and he wants to do things on the up and up. But it is an insurrection. And, I was reading an article today on the Gateway Pundit. I can't remember who wrote the article, but let me pull it up and see. Oh, Wayne Allen Root. Wayne Allen Root. And it's a very long article, and he's very pro-Trump, and he's praising Trump in the article. But then he asked the question, where are the arrests? And I know a lot of us have been hoping for and expecting and wanting and believe there should be arrest, right? And I get that, and I ask myself that sometimes too. Where are the arrests? Will there ever be arrest of these lawfare people? And I think that there will be justice done. But Pam Bondi, I believe Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and them are doing investigations. They got to interview witnesses and get grand juries together. And Bongino, since he took that job as the number 2 guy at the FBI, deputy director of the FBI, we haven't heard from him, have we? Mm-mm. We saw him on the swearing-in day, and that was it. And I was a little surprised that Bongino wasn't with Kash Patel and Pam Bondi during that MS-13 arrest. But my guess would be that he's working on these lawfare people. There's no way they brought Dan Bongino in to be in the background and work in an office and be silent. I just don't believe that. And he's up to something investigating these people. There's no way that he, and that's probably why he wasn't with them at the MS-13 arrest. Now, this morning on the morning show, I was talking about the Elon Musk Doge team interview that Bret Baier did on Fox last night, which was just spectacular. It was a great interview, and everyone that called me was impressed by them. The Doge team, what I said this morning, I'll say here about them. When I heard the interview was coming up, at 6:00 on Bret Baier's show, I was looking forward to it. And when they showed the Doge team, I was shocked to see them. I was expecting the Doge guys to look like college kids that live in dorm rooms. You know what I mean? Like wearing hoodies and everything. I was not expecting successful engineers who are big-time multimillionaire entrepreneurs. I just wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting suit and tie guys, C-suite guys. I was very impressed with them. And they're all very patriotic, and they were very impressive. But after the Doge team interview with Elon, there was a one-on-one, and this is Elon with Bret Baier talking about Senator Mark Kelly.
A lot is coming your way, but sometimes you say stuff or post stuff that gets attention. You give it out, in other words. Democratic Arizona Senator Mark Kelly posted on X about his trip to Ukraine to push for continuing to send U.S. weapons and support there, and you posted that he was a traitor. Well, why do that?
Well, I think somebody should care about the interests of the United States above the interests of another country. And sure. If they don't, they're a traitor.
Yeah, but he's a decorated veteran, a former astronaut, a sitting U.S. senator.
That doesn't mean it's okay for him to put the interests of another country above America.
That's right.
Obviously, there are some Republicans who think supporting Ukraine is the right thing still, but...
Yeah, I mean, and I got to say, that was pretty amazing that he was so passionate about it. And, when Elon Musk was talking about Mark Kelly being a traitor, I saw he was pretty passionate about it, right? He was really upset about that guy. Mark Kelly really rubs him the wrong way, and, that's an interesting thing because he, being an insider so close to the president and the president's team, that gives us some insight into what President Trump and Trump's inner circle think about Kelly. I just thought that Elon was a little too passionate and angry towards him to be something that was just him. This has something to do with how they feel about him. So CNN today had Mark Kelly on to respond to it, though. Listen.
Here we are. You heard what Elon Musk said, calling you a traitor, making his explanation. At this point, what do you say?
Well, I don't even know if he deserves a response, but what I will say is that I've spent an entire career standing up for our country, defending our country, flying in combat over Iraq, flying in space on the space shuttle, serving in the United States Senate. My entire life has been about serving this country. And I always stand with the best interest of our nation. And I will tell you this, Aaron, standing with our allies and standing up for democracy is in the best interest of the United States.
Okay, now this thing that burns me, with these people that I'm not going to play any more of it. I can't stand Kelly. But when he, like all these other Democrats talk, this is our ally, Ukraine, standing up for democracy. Zelensky's term is up. He's declared himself dictator. He suspended elections until after the war has ended. And he could keep them in a state of war indefinitely, like in Cuba, the revolution still continues. So there could never be an election if he had his way. He's outlawed the oppositional political parties. There's no freedom of the press. He's outlawed freedom of religion. What part of what's going on in Ukraine seems democratic, seems free, seems like something we should be defending, right? It blows my mind. And all of these people like Kelly, they know what we know about Ukraine. They're not stupid. They just don't care. They just don't care because they're getting rich off of it. Their donors are getting rich off of it. And it's a military industrial donor complex thing that's going on. And that's it. And there's no other way to get around it. And I want to just talk a little bit, though, about what this MS-13. Do you notice how little press this MS-13 arrest is getting? Fox News covered it all day yesterday because they were embedded with Pam Bondi, Cash Patel, and the FBI 4:30 in the morning when they did the raid on that MS-13 leader. This MS-13 leader was the leader of MS-13 for the entire East Coast of the United States, right? So that's from Canada to Key West, and I don't know how far inland. So he's a pretty big deal. No coverage today about it. There's been coverage on Fox because they were embedded and they were there and they had Pam Bondi on with Laura Ingraham last night. But outside of Fox, it's like it didn't even happen. In fact, if you did not get your news from Fox News, there's a good chance you didn't know it happened, the MS-13 arrest, even if you follow the news, because even with the online news that I read, very little mention in it, and certainly not in any of the mainstream or liberal news. And it's so bizarre. Today there was a sheriff here in Florida who swore in as a deputy DJ, that young man who was at the State of the Union that survived cancer, as a police officer, as a sheriff's deputy in his county. And I think it's Polk County, Florida. And the sheriff was saying that he was talking about those that didn't stand for him at the State of the Union. There's just some things that you do that are nonpartisan, that are just the right thing and the decent thing to do. And the Democrats are indecent. And you look at what they're fighting for. They're fighting for this MS-13 guy. They don't want people to know that this murdering rapist, drug trafficker, human trafficker has been arrested. They don't want anybody to know that. CNN sure wanted the world to know when the FBI broke into Roger Stone's house with CNN embedded with them at 6 a.m. and they're arresting political opponents who are not criminals like Roger Stone. They wanted people to know about that, didn't they? But this, they don't want people to know. This is why the media is becoming just a punchline and a joke in this country. But, the new media, the alt media, we gotta keep going strong and keep supporting everybody in it. People like me, and others, because, this is where people come to for their news now, online, the new media. But the mainstream media still has a lot of juice, and they're trying to help the establishment, the Republican establishment, the Democrat establishment, and the permanent Washington class to regain their power. That permanent Washington class and the political establishments haven't given up. They think that because when Trump's second term is over, they think because he's not going to be on the ballot that they got a chance to come back. And maybe they do, right? It doesn't mean they're going to. But it'll be easier for them to come back without Trump on the ticket than with him on it, is what I mean to say. But they are regrouping. That's why Tim Walz is out there. That's why, they're doing podcasts, right? Governor Newsom. That's why these things are happening, because they think they have a chance at the next presidential election, which is closer than you think. In a little more than 2 years, they're gonna like officially be running for president now. The different candidates, including some Republicans. I mean, even Ron DeSantis is running for president right now. That's why he's on TV every day with something. And if you look, he's modeling what his campaign, which is unofficial, Ron DeSantis, after Trump's reelection campaign. Right here in Florida, he's talking about ending property taxes in Florida as an example, Ron DeSantis. So, the presidential campaign season is closer than we think, and the establishment are going to come back hard to try to win it. We'll take a quick break and be right back. You followed all the rules. You did everything right, too. And you have success. You made it. So why does something still feel like it's missing? That quiet whisper of what now? It's not just a thought. It's a signal. It's a wake-up call. From global strategist and author Sharif Labib comes the must-read and life-changing book, Paradigms Unlocked, A Journey to Clarity, Purpose, and Fulfillment. Available on Amazon. Paradigms Unlocked is a blueprint for your transformation. With this book, you'll discover the hidden beliefs shaping your life and learn how to break through the barriers, rewire your mindset, and create a future filled with clarity and purpose. The author has spent over 25 years guiding Fortune 500 companies and high achievers, uncovering the hidden forces that dictate success and fulfillment, helping leaders, organizations, and individuals just like you break through mental barriers, redefine success, and take control of their future. And he's sharing his knowledge with you in Paradigms Unlocked. You know there's more for you, more success, more meaning, more fulfillment. But nothing changes unless you do. Break free, take control, and unlock your true potential with Paradigms Unlocked, A Journey to Clarity, Purpose, and Fulfillment from author Sharif Labib. Available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and Kindle Unlimited. Take control of your future right now with Paradigms Unlocked on Amazon. What if the news didn't just tell you the story, but made you live it? Author Emily Tiffany Joy takes you inside a near-future society where the line between fact and fiction disappears in Technesthesia, a new journalism, available on Amazon. In Technesthesia, enter a world where technology has rewritten human perception. Truth is no longer reported, it's experienced. In the future of journalism, memory, identity, and reality itself are no longer your own. If truth can be felt rather than proven, does it still matter if it's real? Technesthesia is a mind-bending, thought-provoking journey into the next evolution of media. Author Emily Tiffany Joy is a philosopher and founder of the Center for Non-Adversarial Knowledge Structuring. It's a groundbreaking initiative that's dedicated to ethical innovation, responsible artificial intelligence frameworks, and much more. The future isn't coming, it's already here. Order your copy right now on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and Kindle Unlimited. Technesthesia from author Emily Tiffany Joy. Are you looking for a new job and tired of filling out endless applications? Let Lift My CV take over the job search for you. Lift My CV is the new AI-powered job search agent that finds and auto-applies to the best jobs for you, so you can land that dream job faster and easier than ever. Lift My CV is easy to use too. Just set your preferences, upload your resume, and Lift My CV handles everything else. It scans top job boards like LinkedIn, Monster, and more, and fills out the applications while you focus on prepping for that big interview. Your job search just got a lot easier. There's no subscriptions and no commitments. Sign up right now at liftmycv.com. That's liftmycv.com. Apply faster. Get hired sooner. Fire emergencies can happen fast. Are you ready? With the Guardian Pro Emergency Fire Blanket, you can take control in seconds. Unlike other brands, this is the only fire blanket that meets U.S. fire safety standards, because your safety should never be second rate. The Guardian Pro Emergency Fire Blanket is bigger and stronger and more reliable than the competition, with fire retardant nylon tabs to protect your hands and a reflective strip for quick access in any emergency. Whether it's for your home, kitchen, car, or camping gear, Guardian Pro gives you peace of mind when it matters most. When safety is on the line, never settle for less. Order yours right now on Amazon. Just search Guardian Pro. That's Guardian Pro on Amazon for your Guardian Pro Emergency Fire Blanket.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast. I gotta tell you, Kathy came across this the other day, and this just blew my mind. You know, the Brian Craig Show podcast, when I talk about it, this is just the audio podcast, okay? I'm not talking about my YouTube channel or the radio show or anything. Just the audio podcast is in the top 1.5% of all podcasts in the world so far as listenership. That just blew me away. There's I know there's a lot of big guys on that list, right? Rogan and Shapiro and all these people. So we're in the top 1.5%. That is huge. You know how many podcasts there are? Oh my goodness. And to be in the top it's 1.5%. I was so shocked when I saw that. And you guys out there that listen to the podcast all these years, it's really appreciated. And, it's humbling to hear something like that. I've been doing this so long, and to find that out, it feels good because all these years of hard work have paid off. And I mentioned today on the morning show that when I come back from the cruise, it'll be about a week after I get back, because the first week I get back will be hectic. And I might be tired too. You go on vacation, you come back from vacation, it's tired, right? I'm going to expand the morning show by an hour. And that's just going to be exclusively on YouTube. Okay. So I'll still sign off the radio at 9, and then I'm going to do another hour. And I don't know if I will do that every day. I'll only be able to do it on the days that I use my home studio. I won't be able to do it at the radio station because there's another radio show coming on. I got to clear out to make room for them. But I'm going to expand the morning show by an hour, the 4th hour. And so stay tuned for that, guys. And I'm looking forward to that. When I saw that, I'd been thinking about doing that for a while, actually, since I've been broadcasting from home. And just thanks for all your support, guys. It's very much appreciated. It really, truly is. So getting back into the issues, the president today, there was, let me see if I can pull this article up. I'm not going to play the audio. I'll just share what he said. President Trump in that press conference today talked about the conversation with him and Stefanik about her not taking the UN ambassadorship. Okay. And I mean, this is in Fox. On the Fox News website, facing a razor-thin Republican majority in the House, President Trump says he pulled GOP reps Elise Stefanik's nomination to serve as UN ambassador because he doesn't want to take any chances. And, this is a good opportunity for us. OK, we have a razor thin majority and these special elections have been razor thin. Voter turnout has been very low in these special elections. OK, and we need massive turnout. In fact, in the midterms, when they come up, we need massive turnout in the midterms. We need record turnout for the midterms, guys. I mean, you got to turn out. It's so important for us to not just maintain the majority, but gain. And historically, the party in power loses in the midterms, and we just don't want that to happen. And Stefanik is a rep from New York, so we could lose that seat. Go back to the Fox. It says the president made his comment today as he answered questions at the White House one day after announcing in a social media post he was pulling the nomination of Stefanik, a Republican from New York and top Trump ally in the House, due to concerns about passing his agenda through the House. I said, Elise, would you do me a favor? We cannot take a chance. We have a slim margin, Trump told reporters. This is, this is my thought on that. First off, Trump's right. I mean, the majority is too razor thin. It shouldn't be so razor thin, but it is. So we got to deal with what is. It's the way it is. But this is what I think about this. I believe that Elise Stefanik is happy with this. I believe this is what she would rather have. I asked this question today to people that watch on YouTube. I did a YouTube live stream on this. And how many UN ambassadors can you name without Googling it? How many? Okay. And if you can think of any, most people will be not able to think of any, but there's always a UN ambassador. Okay. And out of the ones you can name, if you can name any, what did they do that's important? And when they were no longer UN ambassador, what did they go on to do after that? Exactly. Right. Nothing. It's a ceremonial job. The UN is not important. No one in America cares about the UN. Elise Stefanik is a very important member of the House, not just because of the razor-thin majority. She's a pit bull attack dog that goes after the left. She's like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Laura Loomer. She goes after people like crazy. She's very tough. She's a part of leadership. And I don't think she really wanted the UN ambassadorship. I think it was one of those things where, the president asks you to do something, and because he's the president, out of respect, you say yes. I think she is very happy to stay in the House, because after her time as UN ambassador, where would she go? She'd be out of office. She is in a leadership position in the House, and she's got a seat for life. So the UN ambassadorship is it's a figurehead position. They have no power. They do nothing. The American people don't care about the UN. They're not power players. They're not involved in any decision making. In the House, she's a power player. She's important. She's crafting legislation. She's crafting the agenda of the MAGA Republican Party. And I think she is not just happy, but relieved. And I bet you Elise Stefanik was worried a little bit about what might happen to her after the UN ambassadorship was up. What you going to do? Get a regular job and not have all this access and influence and power that she's so good at using in the House. So no, this was not just a smart move. I think she is relieved that she's going to stay in the House. And I know the media want to make it look like it's some negative thing. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. Oh, did you notice how the Signal story has also disappeared? Yeah, well, I haven't even heard it mentioned today in the news. And I wonder why that is. That NPR exec that was in the House hearings, she's on the board of Signal. And I was a little surprised to see that. I don't know. But it's totally evaporated. Now, Bannon, he's kind of going viral the last couple of days. He said that Trump's going to go to prison if the Democrats win the White House. I don't know about that. When he gets out of office, we're going to have a good chance we're going to have JD. I mean, come on. I know Marco Rubio wants it, okay? And it's not a given that JD is going to be the nominee and win, but we're going to win. We're going to win next time. Too many big things are going to happen, and the Democrats are so out of touch with reality that they just don't have anywhere to go. They just don't have anywhere to go. All right, like that clip I was playing in the beginning of the program with Tim Walz, and they're taking this woke to the extreme, and they're pushing the people they're pushing to the front are lunatics, right? Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Tim Walz, Newsom, right? I mean, come on. They've got no one. They're wrong on all the issues. So I'm confident. I'm not as confident about the midterms as I am the White House. Okay, the midterms turnout is so important in the midterms. And I don't even know if Bannon believes that. I think Bannon, because of these, what Bannon's doing here, because of these midterm low voter turnout, he's trying to rally the troops up to turn out to vote, and it's so important. We really got to do that. I wanted to talk though a little bit, a little update on the Daily Wire. Okay. Because, I got, industry, anything that involves the industry of podcasting and stuff, of course, I'm interested in and want to talk about. But Jeremy Boring got fired the other day, regardless of what they tell you. And then they had another top executive leave the Daily Wire. And there's been some reporting on X, and the Quartering talked about this too. He's got a source that there's a lot of financial problems going on at the Daily Wire. And I can believe that. The Daily Wire, a lot of people don't like the Daily Wire. I don't like the Daily Wire. Okay. And I don't like Ben Shapiro. And they're never Trumpers. Okay. They are never Trumpers. And they have failed for a number of reasons. And it's only a matter of time before somebody buys them. And I really wonder if Patrick Bet-David is interested in buying the Daily Wire. I think that'd be very interesting if Patrick Bet-David bought it. He certainly got the ability to do it. And Jeremy on the Quartering was talking that there are some named financial interests that are already looking to buy it. Obviously, what happened is they took a big hit financially and a lot of negative publicity with Candace Owens. And then the Brett Cooper leaving was a disaster for them. And, the thing with Brett, I had no idea how popular Brett Cooper was. I don't think Brett Cooper knew how popular she was. Okay. And when she left the Daily Wire and Jeremy Boring took her producer Reagan and really mocked Brett Cooper by redoing her whole thing, like she's a nobody who was just playing a part. It was really a stupid move. They lost more support, and the Daily Wire, they've gotten very big. They have a lot of big name celebrities that are on their lineup, and they've gotten very big. There's a big financial overhead with that. They have all these different businesses and ventures going on and projects going on. And a lot of what they do is based on their subscription model. And while we don't have any numbers because they're not going to share it with us, and but my guess would be they've lost a lot of subscribers because of the Brett Cooper, Candace Owens leaving. Regardless of what your opinion is on any of them, it's not, it's not important for this discussion. I've talked about that so much, I'm not going to get into that. But this thing about a subscription model, a lot of people have that. And it really is not, it's really, I don't think something that's really that viable, with, online new media. And when podcasting was new, okay, this faded away, and I never did this. My podcast has always been available to you for free. If you want to become a member on my YouTube channel, if you want to become a Patreon supporter, that's awesome. But you can and I do appreciate all that. And you can support my sponsors that I endorse on the radio, on my podcast, and on YouTube and everything. And that's all appreciated. But you can always consume the program for free. But when podcasting was new, and I first got into podcasting, I never did this, but a lot of people and people, some that are even friends of mine, they were charging people per episode to listen. some were charging $1 an episode, you know, and I thought that was crazy. And, you know, like right now, one of the news outlets that I go to quite a bit is the Daily Mail. And the last couple of weeks, they started to do something. I hardly go to it anymore. If you go to the Daily Mail, now they're putting in this paid subscription thing. You can read a lot of their content for free, as always, but now they have these things called exclusives. And to read more than the headline in a paragraph, you got to be a paid subscriber or paid member, whatever it is. And I just don't think people are into subscribing online to different things. And I mean, think about it. How many apps do you have, right, that you're subscribing to? And when streaming became a thing, there were all these cable cord cut. I still have cable because, you know, the cable's not that expensive. The internet is, and I need to have the fastest internet I can have. So I have the fastest internet you can get in my area. And it's easiest to do it with the cable, you know, so I have it. You know, the cable and the internet is not inexpensive, but because I live stream and I'm podcasting and all that, I need to have the fastest internet I can have. So I never did the cable cutting thing. I don't really watch it. Everything I watch is on an app, or, you know, most of what I watch is on YouTube, but I do watch things on the Paramount app and a couple of other apps. Amazon, because we're Amazon Prime members, we have it. But so far as these news things requiring you to pay a subscription to watch, I don't know how viable of a business model that is, because I just don't know if people want to do that. And what happens a lot of times with someone like the Daily Wire, this happened with Glenn Beck and the Blaze. He got too big. He had this subscription model, and they lose subscribers and they're in big trouble. And with Brett Cooper and Candace Owens leaving, I think they lost a lot of subscribers and they're in trouble. But the main reason I believe they're failing is they are never Trumpers. You know, now that, you know, Trump's never going to run again. That's it. I mean, he's going to be campaigning during the midterms, and he'll campaign for the nominee for the rest of his life, but he's never running again. And a lot of these big outfits, and this isn't just the Daily Wire, I believe Charlie Kirk's probably running into this. A lot of these big outfits, a lot of the support they get are from people that either were against Trump or for Trump and have been financing different outlets, either the never Trumper Republican establishment or the pro-Trump people. And now that Trump won his last election, a lot of those angel supporters are not supporting them anymore. Okay, there's some of that's hit like the big conservative media. And when Steven Crowder released that private phone call that he had with Jeremy Boring when they were trying to hire him over, and he went through their proposed contract, he made a very good decision not going there. And I was talking to people, I am completely independent. I do not have a contract with anyone, and I don't have a contract with Steve Kane. I have gentlemen's agreements. I don't have a contract with Steve Kane. I don't have a contract with the radio station. I have gentlemen's agreements. And in this business, people want contracts. And I learned early on, I learned this from Steve Kane, but this is so true. Contracts, if you are talent, okay, like I'm talent, but I do more than just that, or Brett Cooper, Candace Owens, Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, although Ben Shapiro is like an owner, but Michael Knowles, people like that. If you're talent, a lot of people that are on the talent end in any type of media want contracts. And what I learned from Steve Kane, and this is so true, every single contract is for the benefit of the business owner, not you as the talent. And I knew a guy that, and this is a textbook example of this, okay? I knew a guy who was a local radio traffic reporter. And he was just a traffic reporter, and he worked for this company that just did traffic, and they did traffic for most every radio and television station in the Miami market. And he had a contract, and he was so excited about his contract. And then they fired him, but the contract would not allow him to work for, I think it was 3 years, 2 or 3 years. Well, he's not someone like Megyn Kelly or Don Lemon, who got $10 million payouts when they were fired with their non-competes. He was just a guy making a working class living doing traffic reports, not paid a lot of money, but he couldn't work. And that's how these contracts work, right? They fire you and then you can't work. And now sometimes people that are big, like Candace Owens, can negotiate that non-compete a little bit. But there's other things too. The contracts are always to benefit the employer. So what I've learned is it is always Steven Crowder was so right about not taking that deal from the Daily Wire, because what Steven Crowder talked about is that, and he showed it in the proposal they gave him for the contract. They own all of your content while you're working for them, right? Your podcast, even your Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, they own it while you're with them. So, so you're giving up ownership of your content. So what happens if, like, say Steven Crowder took that deal with the Daily Wire and they're failing right now and they get bought up by some company? Who's that new company? You don't know who they are. And all of a sudden they own your podcast. They own your YouTube channel. They own your Twitter. They own your Facebook and Instagram. So it's much better to stay independent and not get involved with these big companies. What's happened with a lot of new media and alt media, it's become mainstream. Like Megyn Kelly's starting something new, and I like Megyn Kelly. I listen to her sometimes, and she's starting a new podcast venture, and I'm very curious to see how that works out. She's putting together a podcast network with some people I like, and maybe she's trying to start like a Breitbart Daily Wire type thing. I don't know. And her content is all available for free, so we'll see if she can. But what happens is they bring in the investors and they start talking to them about subscriptions, and they look at how many people listen to their content, and they tell themselves, oh, wow, okay, I don't know how much the Daily Wire charge. They charge like $15 a month or so. So let's say it's $15 a month, and they do the math by how many people listen to their content, and the number is astronomical, and like, oh my goodness, it's like they've struck a gold mine, right? And it failed at the Blaze, and Glenn Beck got overwhelmed with that. And it's happening now at the Daily Wire. So I think all these people should do away with the subscription model. And like I do, if you want to support this program, become a member to my YouTube channel, become a Patreon supporter, and support all of the sponsors you hear me endorse on all my platforms. But I just don't think people, you guys can let me know what you think in the comment section. I just don't think the subscription model is a good thing. But the main reason the Daily Wire is failing is overexpansion, overinflated egos with Jeremy Boring, Ben Shapiro, and their other personalities, okay? And overexpansion into bizarre things. I mean, they were going to make their own version of Snow White and film it in Europe. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on. It just crazy things. You don't need, in this day and age, you don't need all of these expensive high-end things to broadcast in. Candace Owens is huge. And that studio and everything she uses is a tiny little thing probably in her house. And that's all you need these days. I was able to build a studio that I broadcast on the radio on in my home. I'm podcasting from that studio too right now. So where you see me in the mornings on the radio from my home studios where you don't need all that fancy stuff. Most of that, all these huge studios and everything, that's just ego, right? It's just ego. But I want the new media to be strong, not fail. But I'm excited about Megyn Kelly's thing because some of the people she's talking about putting on her podcast network I like. But good riddance to the Daily Wire. I have no patience for Never Trumpers. Now, there's a story here that I just saw this a while ago in the New York Post Remember that illegal that was an online influencer who was showing money all the time and telling illegals to come into the United States? He just got deported to Venezuela, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. It's amazing to me what the Democrats were doing to our great country with the southern border, and it's been so reversed. The wall's being finished now, which is absolutely amazing. And things are just going perfect, aren't they, in the country right now with Trump? They are going like clockwork. I'm Brian.